Welcome. You know me as Miss Armusewicz, and I teach art here at PBS. I'd like to introduce Lexy Ho-Thai, our visiting artist from New York City, who's been working with our students K-5 the last few days to make a collaborative art piece.
I'm super excited to be here. I've been so amazed and inspired by every student I've met so far. So thank you so much for the warm welcome, and thank you for inviting me to speak today. And today we're going to be talking about belonging.
So, what does it mean to belong? A quick Google search provides a few definitions, mainly being the property of someone or to be part of a group, organization, or community. We're going to focus on the latter.
To me, belonging is definitely being part of a community where I feel trust, care, and safe to be myself, where I can share, listen, and grow. Oftentimes, a community may be collectively working towards a common goal, and that's what brought everyone together in the first place.
I think Lexy summed up beautifully belonging and how as humans we want to feel when we belong. And feeling like we belong somewhere is so important. A 2015 study out of Brigham Young University found that individuals lacking social connections or experiencing social isolation, in other words, those that don't belong, are at risk of early mortality, a risk comparable with well-established factors of mortality like access to healthcare, physical activity, and environmental quality. Our human need to belong is real and essential to our health and survival in this world.
In today's ever-changing and isolating world, a world where people are spending more time participating in the digital world, and there are some communities that are taking big steps towards building a sense of belonging. In Denmark, as well as here in the US, cohousing is a trend to help combat social isolation. Cohousing is an intentional community of private homes and families centered around shared facilities like a shared kitchen, laundry room, and garden. Neighbors will often share meals, skills, and resources, and this helps to create a culture of sharing and caring, where neighbors form deep relationships and they'll take care of each other. For instance, by cooking for one another or looking after each other's kids. This is one way to live in community and to create a sense of belonging, where people can rely on one another, kind of like a big family. And even in big cities like New York City, I've seen movements towards living in an intentional community. In fact, I've had experience living this way, and I'll share about this later.
What Lexy mentioned is a big and meaningful way of creating a sense of belonging. But we can find and create belonging every day. Lexy and I are both big proponents of how the visual arts can help individuals to find and feel a sense of belonging. And we're going to share our personal stories of belonging through art. For me, it all started in high school. I took a lot of art classes, and I kept taking art classes, not necessarily because I was arty or good at art, but because I felt like I belonged. The teachers did such a great job of making us art students feel welcomed. That sense of belonging I received is a great part of why I decided to become an art teacher myself. And the confidence to make art and be an art teacher, that came later after lots of hours of dedication and practice. But that welcoming environment of that high school classroom kept me coming back and gave me the foundation to start this journey. Oh, sorry, I'm still talking. I'm sorry. I continue to find that sense of belonging in the various studios I've had the privilege of working in and being a part of over the years. This sense of belonging comes from shared experiences. Sometimes belonging comes from overcoming obstacles, like when I copper-plated a chain in the metalsmithing studio at Buffalo State, and my classmates helped me to figure out a working solution. Because, of course, it was 1 a.m., and our critique was at 8 a.m. This camaraderie and compassion in overcoming this challenge, among many other shared experiences, helped to create a sense of belonging in that studio. Sometimes belonging comes from sharing food and stories. I used to take a Wednesday night ceramics class at a small studio in Watermill, New York. We brought food almost every week, swapped stories of our successes, struggles, and everything in between that the week had brought, and sometimes made ceramics. We built a small community founded on sharing and felt that we belonged. With these ways and more that community studios build belonging, it's no surprise that I find that they are one of the places I feel most at home and most alive. It's a big part of why I keep making the type of art I'm making, is the people I meet, the lasting connections, and the sense of belonging created.
So as you may have figured out, I also love to make art, and similar to Miss Armusewicz, I've always felt most comfortable in a space where I could create. Well, I had a wonderful high school art teacher. Few of my friends were interested in art growing up, and I never really felt like I belonged in high school. While it was sometimes isolating and lonely, it led me to be more creative. I would spend my weekends drawing, painting, sewing, and most importantly, dreaming. I would wear bright colors and bold patterns, not unlike I do now, and I looked a bit ridiculous in my small town in Canada, but I would imagine that I was an artist living in New York City, and in this fantasy, I could wear whatever I wanted. I was living an unconventional, fabulous life with creative people, and in my head, it was where I belonged. I was obsessed with this dream for many years. And 6 years ago, my dream became a reality. I moved to New York City to study fashion design. And while it didn't happen overnight, living in a big city can be lonely at times. I do, in fact, feel like I belong there. With 8 million people, it can be a very overwhelming place, but there are definitely pockets of community with people who share the same interests and values as me. For example, for 6 months this year, I had the opportunity to live with 18 artists in New York City in an intentional community. We all came from different parts of the world and made different kinds of art, but we were connected in our love for making art, living collectively, learning from one another, and wanting to create a creative and collaborative community. While 18 artist roommates can be a little crazy sometimes, as you may imagine, it is in this kind, collaborative, and creative environment that I feel like I belong. So belonging to me has been a journey of discovering and embracing my own passions, ideas, and dreams, and accepting myself, even if others didn't understand me or encourage my path. And through accepting myself, I've found communities of people that share the same passions, values, ideas, and philosophies as me. I found communities where I feel like I belong.
Belonging is essential to our survival. There are so many ways to create a sense of belonging, ranging from the large scale, like co-housing around the world, to smaller, more individual actions, like building community by working towards a common goal. The visual arts are a great avenue through which to build community and thus a sense of belonging. So this week, I invite you to help a friend solve a problem, share something with someone else, whether it be a story or a meal, or maybe just make something together. You may find that you start to feel like you belong. Thank you.